What if I told you there were 10 simple ways to improve networking, even if you're an extroverted individual or an introverted individual? It doesn't matter, because there are things that you can apply today that will make you better in every single room you go into. I'm gonna share with you today 10 simple ways to be better in that room, to network in general in ways that will expound upon all levels of success you've ever thought of. Number one is define the right room. You've got to identify the room you want to be in and define why it's important to you. Are you just going into rooms to network because you've been invited, or are you finding the rooms you want to be in, the kind of person you want to be later, not just today? Define the right room and enter it. Number two is plan ahead. Planning ahead means understanding every aspect of where, when, and how. Maybe even the why. And what I mean by the when is, what time of the day is it? Have you allotted enough time to get there without rushing? Will you be set up for success when you walk into the room? Planning ahead is charting out how long it's going to take to get there. These are things that have messed me up many times in my career. When I talk about planning ahead, I had to implement this because I always try to squeeze one more thing into the day. And guess what gets pushed? The networking event, the connection event, the room that I could actually push away. And so planning ahead for me was about planning for success, building it and time blocking it into my day, and even taking into consideration the very time it takes to get there. What's the room gonna look like? All the things that are important to that event can really help you succeed once you actually get there. Number three is know the who's in the room. You hear me talk a lot about who's. The who are the people you want to surround yourself with. We've just talked about defining the room and planning ahead. Well, planning ahead also means the who's that are in the room, so know them. Pull them up on LinkedIn. Look at who's gonna be there. Who are some of the people that you'd like to meet? Create that plan with the who's as well. Know something about them. Find similarities. These are things that are public knowledge today, and I'm not talking about stalker level. I'm just talking about understanding that if this person loves soccer and you love soccer, what an easy way to say, hey, I checked out your LinkedIn profile. I saw you're a big US soccer fan. I am too. I love it, man. I'm going to the Gold Cup in a couple months. These are things that break the ice and develop relationships that go well beyond the network. It's really important to define, plan ahead, but also know the who's that are in the room. Who are you trying to meet? How are you going to meet them? And why do you want to meet them? Number four is dress for success. Now, I'm not just saying wear a suit or a business power suit everywhere you go, because that's not what I actually think is important. If you've defined where you want to be, you've planned ahead, you know the who's, you also know what the dress code is. You should also know what's going to make you acceptable. If everyone in the room is going to be in a polo and a more relaxed, casual environment, and you're rolling in a full three-piece suit, maybe you overdressed for your success. Maybe if you're walking in a regular casual outfit and the room is more suit-like or business level, you have missed the mark. Knowing how to dress when you walk into a room will be a game changer when it comes to networking. And for me, I found this out the hard way. When I first started in business, I went to a meeting and I was 22, 23 years old, and I was working from home at the time. I was knocking on doors and cold calling and building my business from the ground up. So I was in a polo, and I walked into a room and every single veteran in that room was in a suit. And there were at least 3 to 5 of them that pulled me aside to tell me that I was inappropriately dressed. At the end of the day, I failed, and let my failure be a lesson to you. Think ahead, learn from my mistakes, and understand what the room is really going to be feeling like. Number 5, simple but difficult because it's called confidence. Confidence is something that I understand does not come innately and inside to everybody. I have felt like confidence is a game changer though in a room. If you walk into a room with your head down, if you're soft voiced and your shoulders are low, nobody wants to talk to you. You are never going to meet anybody because you are not confident. Why do you belong in that room? Why do you want to be in that room? Remember that, and when you walk in, Make it purposeful. Show confidence, at least in yourself, that you belong there. That sounds simple enough, but folks, that is a big challenge when it comes to networking. I have mentored so many people and coached so many people who are they lack just enough confidence to walk into the room and start a conversation. Maybe it's not about starting the conversation, but it's at least about walking into the room with your shoulders up, your head high. You are going to show the room you belong there. Number 6 is listen, listen, listen. I just mentioned this before. Stephen Covey says this perfectly. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. In a new room, in a new environment, when you're networking, the last thing you want to do is tell the world about yourself. Nobody cares until they know you care. So it's really important when you go in there, and I personally have failed at this 100 times because when I was new, especially in business, I felt like I was punching up at the world. And so I'd walk in, I'd introduce myself, I was confident, I'd say, I'm Scott Danner, here's what I do, here's my card, and it's too much. Nobody wants to call you back. Nobody wants to talk to you again. Go in and listen. Listen for opportunities to interject in a conversation. Look for opportunities to share of yourself. Listen for things that will make you stronger. Don't be afraid to go in the first time and just listen a little more than you talk. It is powerful. Number 7 is smile more. Here's the thing. You are the energy that you put out into the room. The older I get, the more I understand this. When I do a podcast, when I have a conversation, sometimes the other person will say, man, your energy made me so amped to have this conversation. When I walk into a room, I want to bring the energy that I'm giving to that room, and it's amazing, I will get it back. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to be at a 10 at all times, but it means that you at least have to smile. We talked about head up, shoulders back. That's important to confidence, but smiling is important to attracting. If you really want to be an effective networking individual, if you really want to be effective in a room in general, you have to attract people to you, not just go at them. And attracting people to you is simple. A smile often does that. The more you smile, the more people want to be around you. It's infectious. And I have used this throughout my career. Number 8, it's look for ways to keep in touch. What you want to look for is a way to lengthen a relationship. So instead of just having a quick connection, think of ways that you might be able to add value to that person. Think of something they mentioned in the conversation, maybe an article that you remember that you might be able to email them, text them, send them on LinkedIn through a DM. There's so many ways to keep a connection going, but it's gotta come from you proactively thinking of tactics. How can I add value to that conversation? There have been so many times just in the recent past where I've been talking or someone has been talking about infrared saunas or cold plunges, and I have literally gotten home and I've texted them the actual model that I own, and it started a whole new conversation. And then they send me a picture of when they get it in the mail or whatever it may be. Like, these are ways to connect the dots, but it's how are you giving to them? It's tactical, but it's really important to execute upon how to keep the connection going. Number 9, we need to connect with depth, not with width. Lots of people know who somebody is. Not a lot of people know who someone truly is. And this is really important. They know that that person works for this company, or that's the head of this group, or they run this organization. They're the coach of this team. That doesn't mean anything. That is width. In politics, you often see this. Politics and politicians are often wide, but you could see that same person out in public and they wouldn't even know who you were after they just spent 20 minutes talking to you at an event. It's because they build width and not depth. But people that want to be something bigger, that want to really take over a room, that want to network to precision, have to build depth. They have to understand the human behind the job, behind the title, behind the company. Who is that person? What do they love? What's important to them? We talked about it a few minutes ago about how you might be able to add value to them after you leave. It's a great way to add depth. Width is not enough. add depth. I do this all the time and I make it a practice. And the reason is because I want to know someone's depth. I don't want to just have somebody come up to me and ask me my name and my title and talk to me. In fact, I hate it when they come up to me in the first 5 seconds, they tell me what they do. I don't care what you do until I know who you are. And you should take that same tactic. Depth starts with who you are, not what you do. So I make this a very important part to let the conversation go before I ever get to the point where I'm like, I'm Scott Danner, this is the business I own, and this is what I do. Because what I do means nothing until the person actually knows who I am. Number 10, perfecting the follow-up. We talked about ways that you're listening. We talked about ways that you're looking to add value to people, and maybe there's something you can do later. We talked about connecting on a deep level. If you've done these things, you have found a way to perfect the follow-up. Half the time today when I go into a room, I either preemptively connect with someone on LinkedIn or post connect with someone on LinkedIn. I don't care about their business cards. I only get a business card so I can connect with them on LinkedIn and send a quick message reminding them of the conversation that we had and what I remember from it. Hey, John, it was great to meet you. Really enjoyed talking infrared saunas with you. If you ever need any advice on that, here's the one that I bought. It just looped in 3 of the networking tips that I've given all in one. Connection on a deeper level, not with, listening for something that was important to them, and then following up with precision and perfection. It's so important to actually do the next step. Otherwise, you're just building width and not depth. Depth is built on the follow-ups. It's, hey, we talked about grabbing a cup of coffee. You want to get something next week? And guess what? If they turn you down, that's okay. Stay with it. If it's somebody you really want to meet and learn from, everybody loves to share what they've learned, what they've grown from, how important they are in their business. Don't ever take no for an answer just once. Perfecting the follow-up is not about nagging somebody, but it's about making sure that you're front of mind, that you're giving them something. Don't try to take from someone before you've given to them. So the follow-up should be about what you heard in the listening session, what you connected with on a deeper level, and maybe something that they can use that you might be able to help them with. That is a great way to perfect the follow-up. There are so many ways that you can get better at networking. What you're really looking to do is actually be a presence in the room. Attract people versus tell people and sell people. Learn from people around you. And all of these things I've just shared are the very things that will help you get better every single day, even if you're already really good.